it is Adam and Jenny Gailey with
B1 Marriage Ministries.
Happy Day.
Oh, yes.
So this is episode number
5.
Yes. We are so happy to be with you guys. This is helping us, our marriage. It's bringing topics to the table. Today, my husband had the idea of today's topic, and it is...
Renovate, don't relocate.
There you go. So, marriage under construction, the constant need for renovating and to looking at things in a new light that need change in your marriage.
Right. A lot of times we can, look on the outside and think about all the things we don't have, or at least perceive that we don't have. You're driving by that big old house down the road and you think, oh, that'd be so nice to live there, or what must that be like? And a lot of times we fall into that same mindset in our relationships, wishing there was something else or something new, when it's right there under our noses in front of you. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just being thankful. I think thankfulness is a great place to start. But of course, if something does need attention, don't just ignore it, right? So there are we're renovating part of our house right now, our downstairs. It was really needing attention. It was trapped in the 80s, right? And so if a portion of your marriage needs attention, put those I have this big orange dress, put this orange cones, right? Alerts.
Traffic cones.
But don't put your whole marriage around the traffic cones. You want to not make your whole marriage about a problem, right?
No, you don't want to make
That's
the problem
destructive. Yeah.
bigger than what it needs to be.
Yeah. So I would say kind of isolate it, put cones around it, but have a lot of positive reinforcement in other areas, or you will wear that, your marriage and your spouse down, really. Yeah.
Right. There's the urge to get a project done and get it done quick.
Let's get through all the issues.
Expect quick results.
Yeah.
A lot of times, do it right. Spend time in it. If you're feeling like you're in some type of a valley season in your relationship, just know that it takes time to fall into those pits and those valleys.
Takes a lot of patience.
And it's going to take time to come out, in the same manner.
And we've had valley seasons, we've had mountain seasons, we've had times where we loved each other, but we really didn't like each other. We were we can all it's and be on the same page, but some days we are not, we clash a little bit. Yeah, but it's good because it always leads to greater intimacy, the conflict.
Right. It causes things to come to the surface. It shows, it's a way to communicate where your heart's currently at.
Right.
Just don't let those things well up inside to where it becomes just an outburst of frustration, because it'll catch your spouse off guard.
Yeah, so let's pause. And we have both done this where we've let an issue, I think when you said well up, I was let's pause right there, because I feel can't y'all relate? If there is one issue that keeps coming up, you can, and it's not addressed, it can cause resentment, right? Say, all sorts of things, and so sometimes if you're not feeling considered in an area, there's times where, all right, for tangible example, there's times where I've just made all the plans and I was we're going to do this, this, and this. And I just kind of told you, here's the agenda. And you're wait a second, I need some say-so. We have to kind of realize what our personality tendencies, our personality weaknesses and strengths are, so that we can really, both be represented.
Right.
Yeah.
The popular theme in homes these days is an open concept layout, right? Getting rid of smaller rooms, opening up the kitchen so that it opens up into the living room area, and all those ideas are based off, just having communication, feeling a part of things, letting someone in, You know, to whereas if
Let me in.
someone's in the kitchen area preparing for a meal and the other spouse is in the other room watching TV, there's isolation.
Yes.
And there's a sense of, there's not as much intimacy in that
Yes.
type of environment. So a lot of people want to open up, tear down walls, right?
Tear down the walls. Yeah.
You know, what walls do we have? What are we guarding in our marriages right now? What's causing communication to not take place? And so it's setting a time to discuss those walls and those barriers to intimacy. And once you start to tear down those walls, it's gonna feel new. It's gonna feel more open.
Absolutely. Yes.
And the time to have those discussions is key as well. You know, to address those walls that need to come down.
Yeah.
So that communication can take place, and you need to find a time where there's not a lot of distractions. Your energy levels are, you know, at a good optimal level. You know, you don't want to have difficult or stressful conversations when, you know, one partner is feeling sluggish or fatigued or has had a long day. So set a time aside, you know, where you can have these conversations and say, hey, are you ready? Let's, you know, to talk.
Yeah. So realness check about the energy levels. Literally last night. So again, I don't do everything perfect at all. We don't do everything perfect, far from it. We're just in here to kind of like, you know, walk alongside with you in your marriage. So I'm trying to have this like in-depth conversation, and Adam is falling asleep on the couch, literally. And he's like, And he had a long day. Like, he was just physically tired, you know. And so I usually like forget, and if something's on my heart, I literally just keep talking.
Once that train starts rolling, there's no stopping.
I'm like, but I really need to talk about this, and it's really on my heart. And Adam's like, I'm thinking, just tired, like, and then finally, like, when he is literally about to like just zonk over on the couch, I'm like, oh, this really isn't the best time, is it? I mean, it takes me a little while to clue in sometimes.
It ends up being frustration.
Yeah.
Like, you're not listening.
I know.
It's like, you're right.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, side note, but I'm so sorry. What you were saying was the tearing down of the walls. A closed spirit will really harm a marriage. If you're closed off, like any area of isolation is just bait for the enemy.
Well, you gotta find the common ground.
Yeah.
That you can start with, that you can open up that conversation to turn into, you know, more in depth. You know, it's like, hey, while we're on this topic, you know, how about this? So finding that time and starting with common ground would be key to having a healthy conversation.
I love what you said about the common ground, because if you start with like, when you say like, if I bring up a topic or you bring up a topic and you're saying, hey, start with the end goal in mind, which is greater unity and a greater sense of peace for both. So you have to find that common ground. You have to find, hey, you know, we're not in competition. We're a team, and we have to operate what's best for you and what's best for me. Yeah, the common ground. Common ground is key, I think, you know?
You gotta start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Think about if you're building a home, you can't build a home unless you have a good foundation.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're a believer, you know, Christ is that common ground.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's open it up in prayer, right? Especially if it's
a heated
hard issue to
Yeah.
talk about. You know, you want to invite God into that conversation.
Absolutely.
Right?
That there's been times where we've been so at odds on a topic, and we have started in prayer, and those walls started to come down. You know, it's so important. Like when you're in construction mode, and it is when you're trying to solve something in your marriage that the enemy always tries to hit you hardest. And so when you want to have those hard construction hats and be firm in your stance on some things, but also not have a hard heart. So have the hard hat, but not the hard heart, right? You know, you want to soften your heart. And so when we are on prayer, we're acknowledging, hey, you know, it's not me against you. It's us submitting to God and his plan for our lives. And so, you know, there's many times where Adam's probably wanted to do this, do that, but he considers his wife, you know, he considers me, okay? And so there are things that you may not see eye to eye with, but is there peace? Do you have peace in your heart, in your marriage?
Know that it takes practice. You know, you could try this and it may end up being
Flop.
a big flop,
Yeah.
right?
And
So,
we have before too. It takes time.
you know, you gotta learn patience. The conversation can't be under the premise of, well, I'm gonna hold my ground.
Right.
I need to show my spouse how they're wrong.
You have to do a hard
My way is the right way. You're doomed to fail.
Yeah.
You know, there needs to be some humility on both sides, and you have to be able to be willing to fully listen, fully hear your spouse out.
Yes.
Because if you want them to hear you out, you need to be willing to hear them out. And, you know, it's not always about 100% right, 100% wrong. You're going to have to compromise.
Yeah. That's
So
true.
that would be my biggest recommendation. And it's going to take practice. It's an exercise.
Yes.
You know, the more you have these conversations, the healthier it's going to be. It may be a dozen times, it may be 24 times
Yes.
before you find that, you know, you're getting better at having these discussions. It's a muscle, you know.
Yeah.
Communication is a muscle that if you're not going to practice, it's not gonna. You're gonna have issues, right? So
That's
the
so
more
well
you
said,
practice it, the better you're going to be at it. So
Absolutely.
give each other time, give each other patience, and above all things, just make Christ the middle of that conversation.
Yeah. It's a constant renovation process, and it should be. Our lives should be in a constant transformation mode. So just be patient, be blessed, and we will see you next week.
Have a great week. See you next time.